All right. Happy Wednesday. Obviously, we are recording this on Tuesday night as usual, but most people, I think, will be listening to this on Wednesday. And this is Drinking Champagne. Josh, joined as usual by Mr. Andrew Champagne. Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. If you listened or watched our show last week, focusing on the big Cigar Mile Day program in Aqueduct, first of all, we did pretty well, Josh. Both of us like WNL. That was a really nice call by us. I don't think we saw the Derby winner in that race, but pretty nice effort by that one to get the money at a little bit of a price. Get her number, not getting by Mind Control is going to be in my nightmares for a very, very long time. And I had Mind Control too. I had Grand Slams live to both. I had Pick Fours live, had a whole bunch of things going, but it would have paid so much better with that 8-1 shot on top as opposed to that 3-1 shot. And Get Her Number ran his eyeballs out in that race. Mind Control just did what he did to Hot Rod Charlie. Wouldn't let another horse by in the stretch.
Yeah, and I definitely saw on Twitter. There were a lot of people who really liked get your number there. I think both Mark and Caleb also liked the horse, so it was kind of
I'm
it was
in
kind of
good
a tough
company
beat.
then.
Yeah, it was kind of a tough beat all around. I did like Mind Control. I tried to play longer horizontals
White
and
Arborio ran really well, and you altered the pools. You were enthusiastic about giving that horse out. And I have no idea how White Arborio went off at 7-2 in that field, but he ran pretty well.
yeah, some friends of mine thought that the rail was bad that day, and they think that White Barrio basically ran against the bias. So they think maybe if the horse tipped out a little bit, like and got off the rail, that might have had enough horse to win. I didn't watch that closely, and um, I think Ed I forgot who posted something. Someone posted on Twitter that like chasing biases is like some of the like one of the toughest things to do.
Well, here's
Um,
the thing. Did the theory involve Mountain Dew? If the theory involved Mountain Dew, it was Ed.
I don't know if you've read it. Have you read the book Betting with an Edge?
A long time ago.
Really? It's a fairly recent book. I want to say it can't be more than 5, 6 years old.
With the pandemic, what it is, my time lapse brain is totally fried. So
Yeah, actually, I wonder when Betting with an Edge. But that's the book that Peter Thomas Fornatale and Mike Maloney did. I mean, it was mostly Mike Maloney's thoughts. I think
Oh no, I'm
PTF.
thinking of a different book. Never mind. I got it right in my living room. No, that one I have
Oh,
not read.
gotcha. Yeah, because I was like, that's a fairly recent
No,
book.
I was thinking a different one. It might have been one of the Buyer books. I don't know, but for some
Gotcha.
reason, I just had a mental block.
Yeah. Yeah. 2018 was its publication
Okay,
date. It looks
yeah.
like.
Anything Pete Fortentale writes is going to be good. By the way, fun fact: you know who his father was?
I know he was like a DJ, wasn't he?
One of the biggest name DJs in New York. I'm an old school radio geek, so finding that out was a heck of a deal. And it's the second most impressive thing I found out about Pete Fornatale. He was also the co-writer of one Chris Jericho's first couple of books. For all of you wrestling fans out there, same guy, people.
That's funny. But anyways, the book Betting with an Edge is very much centered around bias.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not really familiar, I think it's a great read. It kind of goes through a successful horse player's thought process, and I think they do a good job of talking through it. I mean, they go as far as like talking about how he takes trip notes and talking about it's very in depth. It's very good. I haven't finished it. I probably got like 3/4 of the way through it, and then I just I wasn't able to get through the rest of it, and then I got distracted. But it's definitely one I want to go back and either reread or finish. But it's a really great book. It's especially if you're somebody who believes in bias to a very very strong degree. I think it's a great read, and also good about taking your own trip notes. I'm not super good at that, but some people are, and trip horses are, that's one of the few things that it doesn't necessarily always show up in the paper. So it's always something good to look at. But
So what I do with trip notes, and it's really, really weird. If I watch a race, I might not necessarily remember something. What I have found is as helpful as anything is the old Twitter machine. Being able to archive stuff and being able to say, okay, this horse did this, this, and this, worth the bet back next time. And Josh, there's one of those horses that's going to be running in the sequence that we're going to be talking about that I'm looking forward to diving into. So we're going to have some fun with that. And that's a nice little way to be able to tie everything in. It's almost like I went to broadcasting school or something.
yeah, we can. Why don't we start taking a look here at the
Cool.
sequence? Let me pull it up here. We're gonna be taking a look at the late pick 4 here on Wednesday's Turfway Park card. Just just something fun to do. I play Turfway Park pretty regularly. In the winter, and actually, this is a good question for you too, Andrew. We can talk about it after this. But in the winter, I generally play two tracks pretty heavily. That's Turfway Park and that's Sam Houston when that starts up. Usually
Fingers crossed.
fingers crossed, end of January.
Yeah.
We're able to bet on it.
Sam Houston is such a fun track. I really hope they figure that out. I've played Delta fairly frequently, at least up until a couple of years ago when they were running at night all the time. They ran in the afternoon. It didn't really work. It felt like a different kind of product, but they're back running at night now. Shout out to Don Stevens, Ricky, and the crew there. They do a lot of really cool stuff. The track that I actually play a fair bit on, and I'm going to brag a little bit, Remington Park in Oklahoma, they're just finishing up their meet over the next couple of weeks. They run a contest called Thorough Enduro, which lasts several months. And it's sort of like a showviver, but not really. You've got to pick at least one horse every night that finishes in the top 3 of one of the 3 contest races. Otherwise, you lose a life. And once you lose lives, you're relegated to what they call the barn. You can't play until the end of the week. And then everybody gets let out of the barn for the first day of racing the following week. There's something like 1,000 people that play it regularly. I am currently 91st with a couple of weeks left to go. I believe the top 10 cash. So I've got some work to do. It's a free contest, but at that point, it really does become really entertaining. And you start thinking about things like game theory and who has what horses, because at that point, even a good night, like going 2 for 3, somebody somewhere up there has 3 for 3, and you're going to wind up losing ground to somebody. It's fascinating. It's a lot of fun. And shout out to the people at Remington that do that. It's a cool contest.
Yeah, I think over the summer, Hawthorne ran a free contest, and my buddy Sheldon won the contest, and that's how he paid for one of his entries for the Hawthorne contest because it was like a $500 entry to a contest, or it might have been more, but I know he
Always
had
nice how
$500.
things work out that way.
Yeah. So, but yeah, when the winter hits, obviously, I mean, there are definitely people who are still very, very loyal to Aqueduct once turf racing ends. I'm not one of those people. I over the summer, I am very, very heavily Naira. Like Belmont and Saratoga those meats are my bread and butter. Mixing a little bit of Churchill
Saratoga
Downs.
is your bread and butter, you
Well, I'm
say?
saying what I
Have
play. What
you
I
met your
play.
co-host?
Yes, yes, I know, but I'm saying like for me, like those are the tracks I mainly play.
Right.
Um, but in the winter, I'll dabble in Gulfstream. I know that's kind of the A winter track until Santa Anita kind of starts. Then
Well, they're starting the same time this year. They're doing a big, gigantic double opening day for Gulfstream's championship meet and Santa Anita's winter spring meet on December 26th. There's going to be a lot of money getting thrown around that day.
Yeah, and then Oak Lawn obviously starts this Friday. Within I think there's my friend Sheldon once again was talking about the pick 5. I believe has a couple Archie bred races in there, and he's so shout out to the Wolf of Oak Lawn. Hopefully he has a good meet. That is not Sheldon, but I know Sheldon was calling upon his expertise for this card on
Always good to
Friday.
be able to phone a friend, isn't it?
Yeah, but yeah. So what do you kind of look at during the winter? Like I said, I'm mostly the night tracks, Turfway Park, Sam Houston. I'll dabble in uh, I already forgot now. I'll dabble in Santa Anita, Gulfstream, like on the weekend. Maybe I'll play a little bit, but I basically play every single Sam Houston and Turfway card.
I love Sam Houston. Really hope they figure that out. I've got no more inside information than anybody else on that. But and look, quick deviation here with Heisa being in the news and whatnot. I understand opposition to Heisa. It's not a perfect piece of legislation. The solution can't be sabotage your own handle to where you get down 85%. For what reason? Come on. It's just not sensible. There are ways around it that you can use. The whole thing just stinks to high heaven with me. I love Sam Houston. Sam Houston and Delta are where a lot of my winter action has gone. I like Gulfstream. I like Santa Anita. I worked at Santa Anita for a year and a half while with HRTV. I've got a great respect for that place and the people that run it. It's just, it's tough when not long ago, every single Saturday at Santa Anita meant something. Now you get undercards with 5 or 6 horse fields on a Saturday. The stakes races are fun. The late pick fours are fun, but it's just the state of the game here in California. There's not as many horses. There's not as many races that fill, but you take what you can get. I like Santa Anita. I like Golden Gate, but other tracks wind up getting my action a little bit more. And I really, really hope Sam Houston and the Texas Racing Commission and everybody else involved with that mess figures it out. I could deal with it when it was Lone Star that was affected by it. Lone Star and I have never gotten along. Fix it in time for Sam Houston, please.
Yeah, really, that whole situation. I don't. There's just no winners,
No,
right? It
none.
makes
Absolutely none. And the people that are proud of themselves for doing that, they're the ones that are going to be asking, where's the purse money? The purse money comes from the handle that you set on fire.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Sam Houston had started setting handle record after handle record after handle record.
Low
The
takeout
low
works.
takeout.
What a
Yep.
wonder. I'm shocked.
Yep. I mean, them Canterbury's also seen a nice increase too with their low takeout wagers. So it's unfortunate. Hopefully they get it figured out. But obviously those are matters much more complicated than I understand. I just want to be able to bet. So
It should not be a hard ask. It should not be a hard ask. Having said that, you look at the Turfway programs, you see full fields, you see a lot of purse money. This is a $70,000 maiden special weight race to start us off here. It's a good sequence on Wednesday night. Starts in race number 5 of an 8-race program. You're scrolling through field of 12, 2 also eligibles. Did I see a lone A there?
yeah, I think you and I are both singling the same
We
horse.
are, and this horse ought to look familiar if you watched a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, moment to shine, showing up here. I believe was this the one that I thought might have been better for like a turf sprint
We
type?
both liked that horse first time out when it ran into a horse that wound up being anointed as a future Kentucky Oaks winner by some people.
Hmm.
It's a 6 furlong maiden race. Slow your roll, people. But I think we saw the same thing. We saw a debut that looks okay on paper, but if you rewatch that replay, you see a horse that had a fair bit of, I don't want to call it trouble, but an unlucky trip. Took a lot of dirt sitting in behind horses, waiting for room along the inside, winds up getting out, finishing a decent third. Gerardo Corrales sees fit to ride for Larry Rivelli. These guys, they both win a lot of races. Any sort of improvement off of that last out effort would make Moment to Shine, I think, very, very difficult to beat. And that is even with there being some talent in the rest of this field. I think number 7, Giving Spirit, is a bit of a prospect. That race last time out was a very quick race. You do not see 6 furlongs in 110 and 4 at Presque Isle very often, especially not from Maiden Special Weight Company. Michael Sidham trains. He's off to a good start to the meet. But I just think if horse number 5 in the program, you're very likely favored at 5-2 on the morning line. And my guess is going to go off a little shorter than that. If that one shows up and shows any improvement for a barn whose second time starters win at a 32% clip, the race is for second money here.
I will say, I think there's a chance that we still get close to 5-2, 2-1 on this horse.
Solely because of the
Only,
big field, you think?
well, because of that, and also because of the presence of this 12 horse. Pírame otra, sorry. Uh, Wesley Ward, first time starter at Turfway Park, is going to get bet. I just think looking at the rest of the field, there's not a lot to the horses that have races out on the other than the five don't really inspire much confidence in me. Like I'm not running to bet any of these other horses with other starts. So you start looking at the firsters, and people at Turfway, they see Wesley Ward with the firster, they're gonna bet him. So I just have a feeling that this 12 is gonna keep the price on the five honest. But it who knows? I mean, if these are the only two horses that get bet, maybe they both get bet down. So but I thought the 12 was gonna command some money. I'm not very interested in this 12.
Me neither. The works are slow for award.
Yeah, works are slowed for a ward horse. And just looking at the just kind of looking at the breeding, I'm not, it's just not gonna, it's not like absolutely telling me, hey, this horse is gonna take to the turf for all weather or whatever. I mean, Malibu Moon, I think is fine on the turf. But not, I don't think it's like a huge turf influence. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I don't know. This was kind of one of those things where it's like I looked at the favorite, I like the favorite. I'm gonna single the favorite. I haven't found a Larry Ravelli horse I didn't like, so yeah, I'm gonna be singling the five as well. Based off that last run, I think you and I both saw the same thing. You and I both liked the horse last time out, and all this is, I mean, Larry Ravelli wins at a huge clip, and even this dirt to all weather, 35% is insane for him. So I don't know. I just see that this horse get Corrales aboard, who's winning at 44% on the meet, which is just absolutely insane. Um, yeah, I just think that this five is going to be a stone cold single for me.
The only hesitation I would have is if the 13 draws in. That's Diamond Cluster, a first time starter from the Brad Cox barn. And while that one's been working well, I just see Arrogate on the top and think this one wants longer than 6 furlongs. And with that in mind, 5-2 hits me as a little bit of an underlay, even with some works that hint this horse might have some talent. That's certainly one to watch if it draws in. But again, the 5-2 horse in the main body of the field hits me as strictly the one to beat. And given what I'm going to do in race number 6, I need my singles where I can find them.
Well, while we move on to race number 6, I mean, you hit the all button here in race 6,
I
and I
did.
feel I feel like that there's got to be an alarm for that.
Well,
I
there
didn't.
is. There's an alarm there, and you should also put up a Surgeon General's warning right in that blank space underneath the E1, E2 late, and speed numbers there. There should be a Surgeon General's warning that says handicapping this race is hazardous to your health. Let's look at the conditions for this race, shall we? It's a $15,000 claiming event for 3-year-olds and up, which have never won 2 races. Josh, there's a lot of losers in this field. My old colleague, formerly at HRTV and TVG, Kurt Hoover, would call these races evil. There's not a lot of talent in this race. I understand the one Meseta and the appeal of Meseta based on the speed figures. I see a horse that has not won in a very, very, very long time, trying synthetic for the first time. And in the words of the late, great Harvey Pack, never bet a horse as the favorite doing something it's never done before. I look at the rest of this field. I see absolutely nothing that inspires any sort of confidence. I look at this sequence. I see the single in race 5. I know I've got a single coming up in race 7. And I also know weird things happen at Turfway Park at least once per card. I'm hitting the all button, and I'm hoping this is the race where some bonkers 30-1 shot nobody has winds up getting into the winner's circle and knocking out a lot, and I mean a lot of tickets in the process.
Yeah, so I think if the 14 hard rye guy draws in, I'm going to be having most of my money going through this horse. He's going to be a single A for me. And then the other horses I have underneath will turn into Bs. If the 14 does not draw in, I do have three other horses, but I mean, just kind of going back through the Turfway races. I mean, this horse has run 7 times on all weather. It's got 1 win in 2 seconds. I think that the this is probably the surface that the horse wants. The horse has run very well at Turfway, and it seems like all of this horse's best races have been at Turfway. So this horse coming in, Mike Maker dropping in class with Gerardo Corrales aboard. I mean, this is this just seems like, yeah. I mean, this horse, if this horse draws in, this horse is going to be, I don't know, 6-5, because I think that
Probably. But do me a favor, for those of us watching on the On the Wrong Lead YouTube channel, can you circle the negative in that right column, please?
negative where.
That negative in the right column that says only 1 win in 19 career starts.
Uh,
Everything you're saying makes sense. And that horse is going to be a very heavy favorite if he winds up drawing into this race. I see this horse having gotten bet in the past. I see a horse that has had a lot of opportunities. I understand this horse is dropping in out of a $30,000 non-winners of two life claiming event at Aqueduct. Makes sense. Understand why that horse is going to be favored. Do I have that kind of confidence? No. And I don't think you can have that kind of confidence in any runner in this field. I think the way you play this sequence is you find horses to lean on in other legs, and you go as deep as you can in this one. I understand you've got a strong opinion with the 14. Strong wagers are built on strong opinions like that one, and those strong opinions being right. If that horse runs the best race, does it win? Probably. But you can say that about a lot of other times that horse has run too.
yeah. So I guess I'll just touch on the other couple horses that I did like here. The one Masetta, I know you said you weren't interested, or you didn't know what to do. I will say, Bill Morey cleans up at this meet, and I understand that Bill Morey claimed this horse 4 races ago, or yeah, 4 races ago, and kind of looks like he's regressed a little bit. He's just a different trainer at Turfway. He gets Abel Lascano aboard. I don't know. I think even going back to some of those back races, those races fit, especially that Saratoga race.
Those
That
races in late 2021 were very good on turf. I remembered this horse being a reasonably short price in that Central Park race back in November of 2021. That sort of horse shows up here. That horse might be tough. But again, you look at the races this horse is coming out of, you could say that about a lot of them too. It's not like Masetta can't win. It's just, am I enthusiastic at 3-1? No. I like this A lot more that we're seeing on the screen right there. I like 10-1.
Yep, stubborn kind of fellow. The 3, you obviously got E5 horse here, so this horse is probably going to be close to the front end. And I'm looking back at that race at Presque Isle Downs where maiden claiming 25,000 horse wired here with is that Ron Allen?
Yeah,
The boys, I
rockin'
believe?
Ronnie
Yeah.
Allen.
And one wire to wire, and last time out, Indiana Grand seemed to kind of do the same thing, but I see this horse coming back to synthetic. The horse has only ran synthetic once and has won his one race. It's an N2L, and if his one win was on synthetic, I'll take a shot here. So I kind of like this 3 here, stubborn kind of fella. And then I also used the 7, which was the Corrales horse that drew in. I'm gonna take a guess that first call for Corrales is the 14, and I assume that this is his second choice, just because him and Mike Maker have been just teaming up like crazy to start the meet. So I'm gonna guess that Corrales is the board. If for some reason the 14 draws in and Corrales stays on the 7, I'm even more interested in the 7, and maybe I do have a little bit of a soft fade on the 14. And there's very few jockeys where that happens that I actually change my opinion. Corrales at Turfway is 100% one I do, because he just gets all the live mounts. He just gets them. They know that he knows how to ride this track. He just gets all the live mounts. So this 7 at 6 to 1. This is kind of similar to your 14, right? This is or my 14, kind of a loser horse. A lot of these horses in this race are losers. I'm looking at the all-weather races. The all-weather races don't look that bad, and I'm kind of hoping that this is kind of a light bulb type horse, where it took him 11 races to break his maiden, and now if you kind of just look at the last 3 races, those races are at least competitive in this field. You get Corrales aboard. Corrales knows how to ride at Turfway, and you get the right run style. I think you want right now. You want that pressing run style. I think that you look at the pace figures for this horse, it kind of makes sense when you look at his races, specifically his last race at Turfway, has a run over the surface, and you're getting 6 to 1. I'm trying not to hit the all button, so I'm trying to kind of stick here with a couple of horses and structure my tickets differently than just hitting the all. But yeah, I'm going to use the 1, the 3, and the 7 as quote unquote B types if the 14 draws in, and if the 14 doesn't draw in, I'm going to use all 3 of them equally.
Yeah, I get where you're going there. There's merit to zigging when other people like me are zagging. Again, I just can't find a reason to get excited about this field. This is one of those races where you know that the racetrack put it in those late sequences just to make handicappers go, really? I have to have an opinion on this race? Really?
Yeah, and I will say, and I'll discuss this a little bit later when we kind of post our tickets. I think I might prefer the 14 doesn't draw in,
If the
because
14 doesn't draw in, I don't know who goes favored.
I think I might prefer if the 14 doesn't get drawn in, because I have a feeling if the 14 draws in, I'm gonna have the just shortest chalk in every single leg, and that's just not you know
It's not
using
the
chalk.
ticket you're enthusiastic about
It's
playing.
not. It's not. Like I would much rather have this 3 wide here. And I'll show my structure. My structure just made more sense.
Sure.
No, actually my structure makes more sense with the 14 drawing in, but I feel like, and this is something I like to think about, and I think is probably the first thing when it comes to ticket construction you need to think about. Very similar to poker, right? In poker, right, you got to think what we like to call pot odds, right? How much money is in the middle, right? And then you got what we like to call implied odds, right? Which is how much money is going to end up in the middle. When you look at his horizontal sequence and you start handicapping it, I think you constantly have to be thinking, how much is this sequence going to pay? One of the things, if you've ever seen or listened to ITP specifically, he always talks about being efficient, all this stuff, and like you could sit there and just parrot it, and there's pros and cons to it. I think for the most part he's correct, but one thing that he said on, I think it was the last time he was on with Jason Beam, is he said sometimes the inefficiency is in the pool size, right? So something like a carryover, for example, you don't have to be as efficient when there's a carryover. And I started thinking about that because that pick 6 I hit, right? You were telling me about that. You don't want that horse to beat you. And honestly, if there wasn't a carryover, that horse would have beat me. But because there was a carryover, and because I had other horses scratch, and I knew that this was probably going to pay pretty good, I felt okay using that defensive horse, right? You
I
can't
am
do it all the
so proud
time.
of you. I'm
You
so
can't
proud of you.
you can't do it all the time, right? Because if you look at a sequence and you're like, I think this is going to pay, this pick 4 is going to pay $40, right? And you go 3 by 3 by 2 by 2, like, no, you're not going to make money. In the long run, it's just not going to make money. So, yeah, I haven't really completely processed how much I think this pick 4 is going to pay. I do think a lot of it hinges on this race. And that's part of the reason why, like, I'm going skinnier than just hitting the all button here, because
Mhm.
I'm trying to make money somehow. And so if the 14 draws in, it's I'm gonna have to use the 14, and we'll see where the chips fall with the other legs. But yeah, I don't know. That's just a small glimpse into kind of how I think about this stuff when I'm trying to structure it after the fact, after I handicap it, which I did a little bit, and I'll share that later. But anything else you want to talk about in this race?
No, not at all whatsoever. The less time spent on this race, the better. Let's move on to a race where I've got a strong opinion. Oh, here we go. All right. Race number 7. Let me get the exact conditions of this one. It's an allowance optional claimer. Shocker. Full field here at Turfway. And let's go through these horses one at a time here. So, number 2, Mirth and Merriment, a horse that I liked a couple of times at Saratoga this past summer. That one's going to go. Number 3, Sensitivity. That one's going to go. I can't imagine number 4, Elusive Justice, has much of a shot, but that one's probably going to go. Birthday Time. A lot of early speed for that one. Number 7, Crystal Ship, who I think may very well wind up your favorite based off of a third place finish last time out over the synthetic at Woodbine. That one's got one way of going. That one wants to get to the front. Number 8, 261. That one wants to go. Do you see a theme here, Josh?
Yep.
I'm setting things up for a closer, and the one that I want is an A in your program as well. That's number 9, Idiomatic, who ran very well first time out to break the maiden right here at Turfway, going a mile. A lot of respect for that. It's not easy to break a maiden first time out going 2 turns against a lot of horses that have some experience. It's not an easy thing to do, and this horse did it. Bred to be any kind by Curlin out of a first defense mare, and those Juddmonte folks, they win a lot of races. This one took a step forward, first time against winners on Derby week at Churchill, wound up running third, beaten 2 lengths. Safe to assume something went wrong at some point. We have not seen this horse since, but I like the recent workouts. I like the fact that this one's going to be running well late. I like the fact that this one has a win over this surface. It was first time out. And honestly, Josh, a repeat of that kind of effort gives this horse a shot. If she's progressed at all whatsoever, I think she's a very, very likely winner. Now, there is one horse in here that scares me a little if she winds up drawing in. It's a big price. That's number 13, Rogue 2. Look at that local record for me, will you please? That local record, for those of you that are not watching on or listening on your podcast provider of choice, 8 for 14 here at Turfway Park. And yes, this one is another that does her best running late. Now, she's 6 years old. The last couple of outings at Presque Isle over synthetic, not all that great. There's reason to believe that maybe this one is over the hill a little bit, but this one has shown an ability to run well here at Turfway. If you look at the past performances, you see a couple of nice races against minor listed stakes company back in January or February of this year. I'm going to need to see a board, but at the very least, if Rogue 2 runs here, I may need to hedge a little bit in doubles, just if that horse is a gigantic price, because that one does have races on the sheet that are good enough to win. Having said that, though, given the likely race shape, and given that I think Idiomatic is a very nice prospect moving forward, that one's going to be a single for me in playing the pick 4.
Yeah, I basically saw it the same way as you. I think lightly raced horse in this type of race has got all the room in the world to improve. I see nothing wrong with Idiomatic. I do have another A horse, and that is going to be the 10, maybe later. You get Bill Morey showing up here again, and I already talked about him earlier. I mean, he's usually on fire in this meet. He's 0 for 5. A little bit of slow start. He's got two in the money finishes, but gets the services Gerardo Corrales again. And if you kind of go through, this horse has shown some ability at places like Saratoga, at Aqueduct, and can get the distance. I don't think the distance is going to be a problem, and I don't know. I just think that this horse is coming in with the same type of potential I think that you're seeing in the 9 Idiomatic. The other thing I will say is how you kind of put it. All of this early speed. This is another horse that's going to have that pressing run style. I think he's going to want to sit back, kind of come from the back. Has a little baby Z pattern last time out. Shout out to Caleb. I know he likes that. Horse got, lost a little bit of a position there and then, finished very, very strong. So I don't know. I think that this horse is kind of on the up. Kind of improved last two since moving into the Bill Morey barn. So I think 5-1, maybe a little bit shorter than I'd like to take on this horse, but I'm going to use both these horses, the 9 and the 10, equally. If I don't know, I kind of played around with structure. I might press the 9 a bit because I do like the 9 more, but I don't know. I can't really fault this 10. I think this 10 is probably the second best horse in this race.
Yeah, I've got no fault with the 10 on Talon. I just think that one wants to be a little bit closer than the 9, which, hey, works both ways, right? Maybe the 10 gets first run and winds up putting a couple lengths head start on the 9. I just see the 9 as more of a closing type than the 10. I see the 10 as a presser. And with that horse's running style, that run into the first turn does concern me a little bit. I think there's a chance that that one loses a little bit of ground, chasing a pace that figures to be pretty hot. Nice horse, though, had every right to win last time at a pretty big price at Aqueduct. First off the claim for Bill Morey, second off the claim, excuse me. The difference between the Briz form and the DRF form with regard to horses being claimed, it seems small, but when you go from the claim line being below the race to being above the race, it does interpret the way that you see things a little bit differently. So nice horse, though. Wouldn't be at all surprised if that one was well meant. Just preferred the 9.
Yeah, I tried to really make a case for this 14 once again with the Chicago connections, but I think that this horse is just a little too slow.
Another
But
early speed type, too.
yeah, but yeah, we've seen it pretty similar so far. But race 8, maiden claiming 7,500 here, going a mile, 3-year-olds and up here. Where did you land here?
So stop me if this sounds familiar. Let's go through the field, shall we? Number 1, Tigerito, early speed and stops. Number 2, Whiskey Weekend, last time out, early speed and stops. Number 3, Meatloaf's Chance. Some may say 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I say early stops. Storm Hero, first time starter. Absolutely no idea what that one's going to do. But you see where I'm going here. There's a lot of cheap speed signed on. And with that in mind, I want horses that are going to run well late. Number 5, Big Hello at 10-1 on the morning line. That intrigues me a little bit, coming from a barn that, if you're in California, you sure as heck recognize that last name. That's Alan Sherman, son of Art, of course, from California Chrome fame. This one, second off the layoff last time at Churchill, did not run badly over a track that was favoring speed. Wound up third that day at odds of 43-1. Takes another little step down, and I think third off the bench, this one might be sitting on a pretty big race. Number 6, Memphis Prayer, is a closer as well. Has a couple of decent races here at Turfway from last meet. You see a second, you see 2/3. I see a horse that wants to run well late. You see the Briz Prime Power number, a 112.4, highest number in the field. Wouldn't be surprised if this one is one of the favorites. Also, number 9, Mid-Atlantic. This is probably a now or never spot for Mid-Atlantic. You look at the last several races, this one's been running well late, second 4 times in a row against similar competition. There's every chance this horse is just a pack animal, but given the way this race is likely to set up for a closer, I need to at least give him one more shot in this particular spot. First time for new trainer Connor Murphy, who's 2 for 9 with new acquisitions. So small sample size, but the guy does know how to win races. 5, 6, and 9 for me to close this out. I want closers in a race that sure seems heavy on horses that will want to go early, but will not have a lot late once the real running starts. So again, 5, 6, and 9, and that finishes off what's an $18 ticket that will wind up going through when all's said and done.
Yeah, I do not have any of your horses on my ticket.
Ooh, this makes
I
for a good podcast. Here we go.
I have two horses in this last race. The 8 for Mike Maker here, coming second off the claim, second start with the trainer, down a bunch of classes, gets Gerardo Corrales aboard. I mean, you've heard me say Corrales' name like 30 times today. Um, I just think that this horse is going to be running with probably the class that this horse should be in. I mean, they started at the top. They started at Churchill at 30, maiden claiming 30, went to maiden special weight, and the horse had been competitive every time. Horses' best races are going long on the turf. So Mike Maker is coming back to a turf-like surface, I think, and you get Corrales aboard. So I do see that is kind of designated as an E4, as an early type, but if you look at the horse's past performances, the horse has not necessarily been that close up front. So I think Corrales will have the horse in the right spot, and this might be one that is coming a little bit late. But yeah, I'm going to take a shot here with the 8 BG Lee here for Maker and Corrales.
Can I tell you the
And
one thing that makes me a little bit nervous with BG Lee? I see those races at Colonial, and if that horse runs back to the Colonial form, he's got a shot. I see that short layoff line from August 22nd to October 12th, and I see the form take a nosedive. Maybe that's turf to dirt, but do I want to take 4-1 on a horse that has some pretty significant question marks? I would love this horse if this horse was, say, 8-1, 10-1, and had those back races at Colonial. But given the connections that you mentioned, who win a lot of races and will likely be bet by the people that know what they're talking about at Turfway when it comes to connections, to me, this just seems like a little bit of an underlay. And again, I just don't think the race shape fits what this horse wants to do. Now, having said that, based on figures, if this one feels something under his feet and goes, oh, this isn't dirt, I like this, this is fun, then this horse has every right to run a career best race and win this race. 4-1 just seems a little short for me, though.
yep. And then you were talking about closers. I took the 11 here, Heston. Jeff Engler and Rafael Mojica Jr. teaming up for this one. And this is another one of those class droppers that we've been seeing. If you look back at his last work, Bullet at Turfway. If you look back at his races, if you look at the December 21st, I know we're going back a year, but his best race was on turf. Kind of came back and broke inward and was a little bit awkward in the next maiden special weight there. Left the Brendan Walsh barn, and has been progressively dropping down in class. This is another one that maybe is going to find his class here. And I mean, the bullet work. You got the right run style, I think, for this race. So I'll go ahead. I have this horse written down as a B. I'm going to press the 8, and I'm going to use the 11 Heston as a B type in here.
So here's what intrigues me about Heston. And I don't know if it's a good intrigues or a bad intrigues, but I don't know when the last time I've seen this is. First of all, we haven't seen this horse run since June 2nd, ran for a $10,000 tag, lost all chance at the break. Jock wrapped up on him. The claim got voided, which means something came back funky with that horse. We haven't seen it since. If you look at the workouts, you see a horse that came back at Santa Anita in September, winds up working in California a couple of times, skips a work or two in late October. So I'm wondering if maybe this horse was a private purchase at some point, or if it went through a sales ring somewhere, whatever. But skipped a work after the October 27th work, worked once at Del Mar, going 4 furlongs and 50 flat from the gate, and then comes back with that work going 4 furlongs and 47-1. I don't know what to make of this horse at all whatsoever. That race you've got highlighted is a very good race. That work you've got highlighted is a very good work. Watch the tote board on this one. I feel like if this one's live, you're going to see it open at something like 3-1, 7-2. And if that horse drifts up to, say, 10-1, 12-1 at that first flash of the tote board, maybe it needs a race. I just wasn't quite sure what to make of that horse at all. Certainly, though, as you mentioned, that one race where this horse showed it can close, yeah, if this horse runs that race, it's got every chance. That was one race in a 7-start career, though, and the last several efforts have not been good, and we haven't seen the horse in 6 months. It's a very tricky read, I'll say that much.
Yeah. But hey, that's what makes this fun, right?
Exactly. You and I have combined to watch a lot of races. And if we wind up in a situation like this, where it's a 12 horse field and we've got absolutely nothing in common, that's pretty cool.
So I got your ticket up here, right? Pick 4 here. You got 5 with
It's really a
all.
pick 3. I mean, that's basically what I'm doing. I'm punching the all button in the race that should have the Surgeon General's warning on it. Look, the 2 singles that I've got, one of them will almost certainly be favored in that first leg. In the third leg, I've got a horse that I also think should be favored, but might drift up a little bit from that 5-2 morning line price. Just hoping we get a bomb in that second leg and that the race falls apart in the finale. We do that, I think this could pay okay.
Yep. So you got 5 with all, with 9, with 5, 6, 9 for 50 cents. That is an $18 ticket. I have my kind of funky little structure up here. I got 5 with 14, but obviously the 14 is an AE. I got the 1, 3, 7 as Bs in that second race. 9 and 10 in the third leg, and then 8 as an A, 11 as a B. Let me see if I can share my screen here, and let me kind of blow this up.
So if you
Hold
play
on.
an all-encompassing ticket there for 50 cents, it's $8.
Yep. So
That's a pretty
let's.
economical shot into what's going to be a nice pool with a lot of horses running.
Yeah, and so I just did a hypothetical for now. I'll obviously tweak this a little bit. If the 14 draws in, this is kind of how I saw it. I usually do a 2 or 3 ticket structure. So here we got the 5 with the 14, with the 9, 10, with the 8. That's only 2 combinations. So I'll play that for an $8 base for $16. Ticket 2 will be 5, 14, 9, 10, 8, 11 for a $4 base. It's also $16. And then kind of my, like, I guess caveman ticket is 5 with the 1, 3, 7, 14, with 9, 10, with 8, 11 for a dollar base. That's also 16. So the thinking in this is that if ticket 1 cashes, all of them cash.
Yeah, you hit everything.
If ticket 2 cashes, you cash ticket 2 and 3. And if ticket 3 cashes, obviously you just cash the third ticket.
Yep.
So it's kind of an A-B structure, kind of not. It's more. This is something that I kind of learned from Mr. Tommy Massis. This is kind of the way he plays it. Although he says that your last ticket, he's like, you just keep on hitting repeat until your voucher's out. But he doesn't get the nickname Hammer for nothing. So
Yeah, you're not kidding.
But if the 14 doesn't draw in, I was kind of using the 1, 3, and 7 here as A's, and then I was pressing the 9 in that case. And so
Yep.
the structure is just a little bit different. That would be like 5 with 1, 3, 7 with 9 with 8, then 5 with 1, 3, 7 with 9, 8, 11, then 5, 1, 3, 7, 9, 10, 8, 11. So these will be up here. If you guys ever have questions on how I do it, I'm not a structure guru by any means. This is just how I play them, and it's all really based on your opinion still, right? Like you come up with your opinion in handicapping, and then you got to bet your opinion appropriately, right? If you really like a horse and you don't bet it right, there's a chance that even if the horse wins or maybe the horse finishes second, like it's like 40-1, right? It's like, oh, why didn't I play an exacta or something? There's a lot that goes into structure and betting, and it's what's the word? Is esoteric the word I'm looking for? Like it's ethereal, right? Isn't ethereal the word where it's kind of like hard to describe? What's the
The
word I'm
only
looking
thing
for?
I know about Ethereal is that Ethereal rode scratched out of the Derby so Rich Strike could run and win
Oh God.
it.
Now I'm sitting here and looking. No, it's extremely delicate. I forgot what the word I'm looking for. It's a word that gets overused in reviews all the time, but I can't off the top of my head. But like it's hard. It's more art, I think, than hard science. I think somewhat. I mean, there are still rules, and there's still rules to art in
Yes, this
some
isn't
somewhat shape or
Nan. This
form.
is horse racing. There are
Yeah,
rules.
yeah. But yeah, no, it was a fun little sequence. I can't wait to see us have 5 horses in that last race and whiff and some 90 to 1 shot wins and just knocks us all out.
Well, what I'm hoping is that the race where weird things happen is the sixth and not the eighth. Again, eighth race, just give me a closer. That's all I need. Just give me a closer in a race full of horses that go early and stop, and we'll wind up being in pretty good shape. But you're right. It's a fun sequence. If you've got strong opinions, lean on them, construct your tickets accordingly. Whatever that is, it is. In my case, I've got 2 singles, and I can pretty much guarantee you that if I play this pick four, I'll also play pick threes that go single, all single, so that way I wind up cashing on that sort of strong opinion. And again, just hoping we get a bomb home in that second leg.
All right, Andrew, what else you got going on this week? Anything?
Well, let's see. This week is the last full week before I go back east for the holiday weekend. I'm going back east the weekend before Christmas as opposed to Christmas weekend for a number of different reasons, not the least of which is flights are insanely expensive because Christmas is on a weekend. Whenever Christmas and New Year's fall on weekends, some airline executive is going, excellent, like Mr. Burns in The Simpsons. But no, I actually was able to do something I like very much. I was able to go out and get cards for everybody. Josh, are you the type of person that gets heartfelt cards for people?
No.
I'm not at all whatsoever. When I go in and there's a Hallmark section, I go straight for the shoebox section. That's all the shot cards. That's all the cards where every family has one of those relatives that has a weird sense of humor but doesn't want to let it out amongst the family, where you get that little I'm laughing but I really don't want to laugh but this is funny reaction.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite reaction around the holidays. I love giving cards like that to people that I love and care about very much. That's going to be a lot of fun. Get to see some family, get to see some friends back east before I got to fly back. It's a quick trip. I'm flying out next Friday. I'm flying back the following Monday night. Thankfully, nonstop flights, which is a lifesaver. You really don't want to have to risk stopping in Denver or, God forbid, Chicago when it snows. I mean, my God, Josh, have you ever seen Chicago when it snows?
Yes, every year.
Yes, that was the joke.
Yeah, it's funny with flights. It's really funny to me because I've lived in Chicago or the Chicago area my entire life. So I didn't know that it was a thing to not have nonstop flights places.
Yeah, you're lucky.
Caleb lives in New Orleans,
Yep.
and I guess he's like, I everything's got a connection in Atlanta,
Well,
so
that's
I always got to
Delta.
fly to Atlanta.
If you take a flight from Delta down the street to the convenience store, it connects in Atlanta.
Man, I'll tell you. Unfortunately for me, I think I had the same family member 2 years in a row give me Delta gift cards, and
Oh,
Delta is the one airline in Chicago that doesn't fly direct to Vegas.
that's not good. Not good.
So I'm planning on doing NHC at this point.
Yep.
I'm planning on at least playing the last chance, first chance. If I don't get in, worst case is I got a weekend in Vegas and I'll bullshit with my friends. And I am thinking, do I use this? Like, it's like $150 in gift cards. So it makes my flight like $250. But instead of being a 4 hour direct flight, it's an 8 hour flight with the layovers.
If it's $150, I don't think that's enough.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I'm kind of stuck because, like I said, it just doesn't. Delta flies. The only place I think Delta flies direct from Chicago is like Minneapolis and Atlanta.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. But it's crazy because, like you said, I've been looking at flights and hotels for March, and it's insanely expensive. And I really kind of hate now that the NHC decided to move to March when everything is more expensive. But
Yeah, it's weird for sure. One thing I'm not looking forward to with these flights, I'm flying Spirit Airlines round trip. Now, thankfully, here's the thing. Again, nonstop is huge. You really don't want to have to stop somewhere and be stranded in some place that just is getting pounded by an untimely winter storm. Nonstop for me was a priority. Also, I was at least able to reserve an exit row seat both ways. 6'5" here, most of its legs. Need that leg room. That's always fun. And at a minimum, you'll wind up with something resembling a comfortable ride. And thankfully, again, nonstop flights. It's one flight there, one flight back. Hopefully, it doesn't get screwed up too much.
What was the airline again, though?
Spirit. Timely. Though I will say, when I lived in Los Angeles and my long-suffering girlfriend lived up here in the Bay Area, there were times where we would take day trips to see one another, and Spirit and Southwest were the two that we used. For that, it was fine. And for this, it's going to be fine. Again, nonstop Oakland and Newark. Should be pretty straightforward, right? Right? Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. Shout out Rowan Ward, Emily White, everybody on horse racing Twitter that has participated in Jeopardy. My God, it's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. But hopefully you are not going to be saying this after your flights. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for us. We'll be streaming Thursday night. So obviously this is coming out Wednesday. So we'll be doing Thursday night. We're going back to our bankroll building in Bourbon. I believe we all zeroed out last week. So
you know what I'll be doing on Thursday nights?
What's that?
I will be in my bowling league, and I've got something to show you.
Uh-oh.
Where is it? Here we go. I got this thing drilled just today.
Is that impressive?
Yeah, it's a brand new bowling ball. I've got a whole bunch of them here in the guest room of my luxurious Northern California apartment. And just off here, there's a closet that has shelves that are perfectly made for 16-pound bowling balls. My movers were actually very, very nice for most of the move a couple of months ago until they got to the closet and saw 8 or 10 16-pound bowling balls that they had to truck. And it was one of the last things they had to move. I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. You're really going to hate me.
But yeah, I don't know enough about bowling to say anything.
Yeah. Also,
congratulations.
It's a Storm bowling ball, and Storm balls have different scents. This one smells like apple crisp. It smells wonderful.
That's not a thing. Scented bowling ball?
Yes, for Storm it is. There's grape, there's blueberry, there's a whole bunch of them, man.
This is just that is probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
If you leave them in your car, they turn into really cool air fresheners.
All right, this has been an episode of Drinking Champagne. Catch us at
On the Wrong Lead. And subscribe, baby.
Catch us at ontheronglead.com. Check out AM Wager if you haven't already. We got the link below. And buy a t-shirt at ontheronglead.com as well. Got t-shirts, hoodies. I know we had some sales. Like t-shirts usually go down to $12.50. And they're pretty good quality. I will say the more expensive shirts, the printing seems like it doesn't stick as well on the more expensive shirt. So I think your best bet is actually to buy one of the cheaper shirts, unless you just really like that, real soft shirt. But we'll catch you guys later and have a great week.
Let's make some money, everybody.